Welcome to Design to Share Q&A. I'm Erwin.
And I'm Nicola.
We've often been asked the question, how and when do I select a professional designer or contractor?
Well, I think in the same way that you would choose a lawyer or a doctor, you obviously do your research. Obviously professionals, in the same way you'd approach this with a professional interior designer or contractor.
And absolutely, professional is the key. The idea that you would do it yourself or try and do it yourself, we don't approve of. The fact is, doing a do-it-yourself project needs to be a short one. Doing construction or interior design is actually quite a lengthy process.
Absolutely. It can also be extremely costly to get it wrong.
There you go. So, as we always say, if you want to do it yourself, knock yourself out.
Knock yourself out.
When we were speaking about the personal referrals or the references, I think some other resources would be, of course, the internet. Also approaching stores. Some stores and showrooms are who sell tile, for example, might be ones who would recommend a tile setter, or plumbing suppliers recommending a plumber.
I think one of the key things also, like you said, professional. And obviously it has to be somebody who's licensed and insured. We can get into dire straits when things go wrong.
Absolutely, as the insurance is very important, especially if there's damage to other people's property or to your own. Remember, if you insure the property, you should also insure oneself in terms of having any liability or damage from the contractor. I think I just made that up. It's all anyway, so one of the other things, sorry about that. One of the other things is to get written specs. I think that we're all aware of getting plans and drawings and designs, but I think in addition to that, summarizing whatever's in those drawings would be a written specification of the entire project. This is very helpful because oftentimes things are missing from someone's perception, whether it's your perception or the contractor's perception, in terms of what the job is all about.
Yes, I think it has to be very clearly laid out, in layman's terms. The client knows exactly what they're expecting. We know what the client is expecting, and it's right there in black and white. And there's no recourse, obviously, when you have a contract there between the client and yourselves.
Exactly. I think that oftentimes what's happened is that a client will show me a set of drawings from an architect, and I'll turn around to the client and I'll say, well, do you realize that this and this is what's in this room? And they'll say, no, I have no idea.
Right.
And it's a document that they're actually signing away or signing their approval of.
Yes.
And they will find out later on that it's not what they're anticipating. So I think that the more that is written and the more that is described and the more that they understand is what's really
And it's an ongoing process. Obviously, it's not just you sign once on the dotted line. I mean, things change along the way, and you'll have approval each step of the way from the client and yourselves. Things change. With construction, you might run into plans you hadn't anticipated, and so it's going to cost you X amount of dollars to fix. Then you need that approval from the client, and everybody, again, is in tune with what's happening and agreeing the costs.
I think a good rule of thumb is a 10% for errors and omissions, as it's called. So if it's an error of a designer or an error of even your own mind changing, or an omission, something that has actually been inadvertently left out, one should allow about 10% in the budget for that.
Right. And also I think it's very important to be realistic with your expectations, what you're actually expecting the project, whether it's the time that it's going to take to complete the project, but I think it's just managing your expectations.
What percentage do you think that one would, if it comes out to a certain...
I would probably say 90% and you're looking pretty good.
I think so. I mean, I think that being a handmade item, being an item that is takes a lot of, people work and hours and time. It's not like an automobile coming off a conveyor belt where it's in a machine, it's on a conveyor belt, everything comes out exactly the same.
It's custom, particularly to the client's specifications.
And all handmade.
Yes.
And I think that that's the difference from getting a high-end interior versus getting a high-end automobile.
Absolutely. So I think in summary, what we would say is hire a professional, no doubt. Get written confirmation. And also, I think everything should be in writing.
And say a prayer. I'm Erwin.
And I'm Nicola. Thank you for watching Design to Share Q&A.